So I've been using the PlayStation Portal exclusively and intensively for the past couple of days, and in today's video I want to talk about my honest impression about this console. And to give you a bit of spoiler, this model is not actually mine. I need to return it tomorrow morning to my friend who borrowed this for a couple of days, and I cannot wait to get my hands on my very own model. That being said, let's get to the review. Okay, so before you go into the comments and saying this device is completely useless, why Sony has released a device like that, then you'll have to think about different aspects as well. Is this a perfect device? Of course not. Is it for everyone? Again, it is not. But there is a market for it actually. Do I still want a PlayStation Vita 2? Absolutely. Is this that device? Absolutely not. But there is a market for it, and I'll try to answer why. And let's start with the obvious actually. In this moment you can barely find it anywhere. If you are in the US, you may get a bit of luck, you may find a couple of more on Target, on Best Buy, but all around the world these are actually sold out. And myself included, I tried to buy my very own model for a while now, and I actually managed to get a pre-order, and it will be shipped actually in January, so I'll still have to wait a bit more for it. But I did use it for a lot longer than I expected, and I really have my own thoughts about it. So first thing first, the obvious, the design. I know that people don't really love it, and myself included, but once you have it in your hand, I actually start to realize why they went with this route. The DualSense controller is actually one of my favorite controllers out there, and the ergonomics, you cannot really beat it. At least for my hands, it is the perfect device. So having a portable device with the shape of the DualSense actually makes more sense to me. And while it's not the most beautiful device out there, I can sacrifice the look for the ergonomics, and that is actually a plus for me. You still get the same buttons as well, although the joysticks are a bit smaller than the regular DualSense, but it's still not as small as the PSVR 2 ones. And actually the build quality is pretty solid, the screen looks great, and it's actually a lot better than I expected. I would have hoped for an OLED screen, but then the price would have gone up. But actually now that I see it, I don't really care for an OLED screen. The colors are amazing, and trust me, the screen is not really an issue with this device. It feels pretty sturdy in the hand, the buttons are clicky, and I'm not only talking about the ones that you can find on DualSense, but also the volume one, the power button and all that. I gotta say, the build quality is actually pretty good, and I'm fine with it. If I do have one aspect to complain from the hardware perspective, it's actually the speakers. While these are not horrible by any means, they are not great either. If you compare these with the Steam Deck and especially the ROG Ally, you cannot even compare them. But still, the speakers are there, you can use them, but I would have preferred for some better ones. And normally you would say that you can always use a good pair of headphones, but actually that's not the case with this device. And one of the most critical part of this device, and why everyone is complaining, is the lack of Bluetooth connectivity. Now Sony is saying that they went with their own route and they're using the PS Link, and while I understand that Bluetooth has a bit of lag, 95% of the users would not even care and they would still prefer to use Bluetooth. So I would have hoped at least to have that option as well, but that's not the case. If you do want to use headphones, you'll have to plug in the headphone jack. Bluetooth, it's a big no-no on this console. Now, the most important thing about this console, and the one we care about the most, is the remote play connectivity and how that compares to other devices. While I don't have the backbone controller to compare with that one, and most will say, okay, you can just use the backbone, you don't really need a device like that. Well, that's true, it is cheaper, but you still have to buy that one, and you'll have to use your phone, which is already in your possession. While I have played with the backbone controller, trust me, it's not the same thing. And I'm not even talking about the ergonomics, but also the build quality, the buttons and all that. I really think that the PlayStation Portal, it's a lot better than the backbone. But if you already have that one, then sure, you don't really need the PlayStation Portal, and you can actually say that you don't really need the PlayStation Portal altogether. Because if you have a PlayStation 5 and you need to have one with the PlayStation Portal, then you already have a DualSense controller. So you can just buy a cheap clamp, then you can attach your phone to the DualSense controller, and it's basically the same thing. And no argues there. I have to agree, you can always do that, and a lot of people will still use that, and that's fine. But there is something about using a dedicated device for the PlayStation Remote, and you know that it's just there, put it in your hands and play straight away, and it works really well actually. And from my tests, I can actually say that it's working better than using it on other devices, but I'll get to that in a minute. Now, do you need it if you want to use remote play? Absolutely not. You have plenty other alternatives, but trust me, if you are a big remote play user, then this is the best experience to have. If you're just doing this casually, then you can always use a laptop or a phone or a tablet, so you don't really need it. But if you have used this feature quite often, then I definitely recommend getting the PlayStation Portal. Now, related to how well this works, I have compared this with my phone, with my tablet, and also my MacBook. And while these three devices have been used a lot in the past, for me at least, it's a big difference. The connectivity seems to be a lot better on the PlayStation Portal. And I have seen others that are comparing the devices with multiple others like an iPhone or whatever, and they said that the experience is similar or sometimes even better on a phone. I cannot really say that's not the case, because for me the experience was actually great. And I have a bunch of different footage of me using my MacBook, and usually this was the best experience to have for me personally. So this worked actually better than using my iPhone or my iPad. And to be fair, I even did the platinum for Assassin's Creed Mirage by using remote play on my MacBook. The lag is definitely more noticeable on my MacBook. There are some image stutters which you will definitely notice, and these ones are not that common with the PlayStation Portal. Well, actually my first experience with it was that it's working a lot worse than my MacBook, but then I noticed that my PS5 for some reason was using Wi-Fi even though it was plugged in with an Ethernet cable, and once I done that, the experience changed completely and it was so much better. The connectivity was great, no hiccups, no lags, and at some point, depending on the game that I was playing, I even forgot that that was a remote play experience. And I have tried to get some footage by comparing the PlayStation 5 directly with the PlayStation Portal, and I'm trying to slow it down a bit, and you should be able to see a bit of lag. You will have to consider that one, and of course you cannot use the remote play for some online games or for competitive playing, because you will definitely feel it. But for some casual games, and even for these kind of games like Spider-Man 2, where your reaction is quite important, to be honest, I could easily play this game, so there were no issues there, and I even managed to get a couple of trophies using the remote play with the PlayStation Portal. But of course, there are a lot of games that I don't really recommend playing using remote play, and one of the most obvious games that I had was Patapon. Now that game needs a quick time reaction, you need to get the combo straight away, so even though I was able to play it, I definitely don't recommend using remote play for this type of games. And at first I actually thought that I would be using the PlayStation Portal for some indie games like Octopath Travel or Vampire Survivor, and while these are working perfectly, to be honest, I don't really want to keep this device for indie games only. So that's why I played a bunch of different titles, and I have here footage from Kena, Bridge of Spirits, Assassin's Creed, Spider-Man, and a bunch of different others. And as you can see, the experience is not even decent, it's more than that. And you may call me biased because I love handheld gaming, but having my AAA games from my PS5, playing them on a remote device, it's actually a dream come true. And while I still want a PlayStation Vita 2, I know that if that device will come, we will not be able to play all these titles on that device, because that was actually one of the main problems with the PlayStation Vita when it came out. So I can actually see Sony doing this in parallel with a different device like the PS Vita 2, so the PlayStation Portal 2 can actually coexist with it. Now you're maybe wondering, why should I actually use a remote play device if I already have a big screen TV and I can play my PS5 games on it? And if you're asking yourself that question, then this device is definitely not for you. But keep in mind that there are different people out there, maybe they only have one TV, or maybe they have kids, they also want to use that TV for playing something else, or maybe you just want to lie in bed and play some games and your PS5 is connected to the living room TV. So different scenarios, and you know best if paying $200 is actually worth it for these scenarios. And actually, I like to call this device the PlayStation Dad Edition, because there are so many forums out there when I see dads that are saying this is a dream come true. They can now play their PS5 a lot more than before, because the kids can still use the TV, they can play in the bed before going to sleep, or you can even take it on the go, and I have been doing that actually. And if you have a decent connectivity, then the remote play will still work. You don't really need to be in the same same network. And actually the most important thing that you need, at least from my test, is the good connectivity for the PS5. And as I said, once I plugged in the cable, the connectivity was perfect, and even if the Wi-Fi for the PlayStation Portal is not that great, you can still get some pretty good sessions with it. So keep in mind this tip: as long as you have a good connectivity for the PS5, then the experience will definitely be better. And I can already see the comments out there that remote play is not something new. This was from the PSP era actually, and while that's technically true, Sony has been improving this service a lot more, and now having a dedicated device for this functionality, now is actually the best time to use this feature. Setting up this device is actually fairly simple. All you have to do is turn it on, then you can use your PS app that you may already have installed on your phone, scan a QR code, and you're pretty much there. Well, at first you may need to update it, and this is what I had to do. If you have a bunch of different PlayStation 5 consoles, it will even ask which one you want to use. And once that is done, you simply open it up, it will boot your PS5, and you can play your games right there on the spot. And talking about turning on your PS5, the PlayStation Portal can actually turn on your PS5 as long as it is in standby mode. So if your PS5 is completely turned off, then you're out of luck. You will not be able to use remote play. You'll have to manually turn on your PS5 in order to do that. And that's actually one of the main downsides if you're on the go and you took the PlayStation Portal with you thinking that you'll be doing some remote play sessions while you are on the go. If you have like a power outage or something and your PS5 is now completely turned off, then there isn't anything that you can do anymore. And another big downside, at least from my point of view, is if you're on the go and you want to play some games that you have only physical editions, so you are using a disc. I'm a collector myself, and I usually tend to buy discs and not the digital version. And if you want to play one of those games, then you're out of luck again. You will not be able to swap discs, so you'll be stuck with using that one disc that you already have inside, or using your digital collection. And talking about digital collection, there are some key aspects that you need to understand. First of all, you'll only be able to play your games, and this does not include the cloud ones. So if you're a PlayStation Premier subscriber, then you will not be able to use that one. And I really hope that Sony will give us an update down the line and we will be able to benefit from our PlayStation catalog. But as of now, that's a big no-no. You cannot play cloud games on the PlayStation Portal or any other remote play devices, if that matters. And actually another thing that you cannot do is use the PlayStation Portal for some other streaming apps like YouTube, Disney, or any other streaming services. Once you start open them up, then you'll get an error that this is not allowed. You can only use the PlayStation Portal for doing remote play for your own games. Oh, and a nice tip for those of you who have configured the TV to be powered on by default by the PS5. Without doing any changes, if I am using the PlayStation Portal to power on my PS5, then my TV will not auto switch to that input, so I will not have to worry if I'm on the go, I forgot to unplug the HDMI cable from my TV or my PlayStation. You are safe. The PlayStation 5 will be the only device that will turn on, and once you've played it, you can also put it back to sleep and you can resume a couple of hours later. Another thing that I tried it out is if I can use my PlayStation Portal to play games from a different profile. And I have actually two of them configured with different games for each profile, and logging in with a different profile works straight away, no issues there. And the good thing is that I can actually play games by using profile 1 and play games from profile 2. So as long as I have the game downloaded from a different profile, I can still use the PlayStation Portal in order to play those games from the initial profile. That's actually a really good thing if you have a friend which you are sharing your profiles with. Keep in mind that this is available, so you can still enjoy your games. Remote play is not tied up to a profile only, so this is a really key aspect for me. Another downside, if you want to take your PlayStation Portal with you while you're on vacation and you're going to a hotel, most of hotels nowadays don't really use direct SSID connectivity. That means that you'll have to log in through a browser, and the PlayStation Portal doesn't have a browser, so you're pretty much out of luck if you want to use the PlayStation Portal while you're on a hotel. This doesn't apply for all hotels, but mostly do nowadays, so keep that in mind. Actually, just because of this reason, whenever I will be on a go on a hotel, I will never take my PlayStation Portal with me. Something else that I noticed and I don't really like, if you are planning on switching quite often between playing on your PS5 and the PlayStation Portal, and what I mean by that, if you are doing quick sessions and if you want to quickly switch between those two devices, then it takes a bit more time to switch to the other device, and sometimes it took a lot longer than actually powering it on. So I'm not sure if that's a bug or if they will improve that, but switching between the PS5 and the Portal, it's something that I really want to be a faster process. Now remember that I told you that Bluetooth is not something that you'll find on this device. There is, let's say, a workaround which I don't really recommend doing, but if you are planning on using the PlayStation Portal in the same house where your PS5 is, then what you can do is use Bluetooth directly from your PS5. And I have over here some Bluetooth headphones, and I plugged in the dongle in my PS5 directly, and then I turned on the PS Portal, and as you can see, I was able to enjoy the sound directly on the PS Portal, but that's a workaround that I'm not really planning on doing. But if this is something that you consider to be useful, then by any means go ahead. Then you can use this workaround. Another thing that you may be interested in is the battery life. Now, from my experience, while I have been using this device quite a lot, the average is somewhere around 5 hours, so pretty much in line with the DualSense controller. I usually don't play sessions longer than 2-3 hours, and once I'm done, I always put my controller in the official charger, so when I want to go back, it's usually 100% battery, so I'm good to go. And the same applies also for the PlayStation Portal, and you can actually plug it in and still continue playing. And 5 hours for a handheld device, trust me, it's a lot better than comparing with the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally. It's in a completely different league. Sometimes I get 1 hour and a half with those devices, and of course that's actually a benefit of having stream only on this device, because there isn't any heavy loading, you don't need any processing to do. So 5 hours of battery life, for me it's more than decent. I'm happy with it, no complaints from my point of view. But you may want more, so it's up to you, but just something to have in mind. As I said since the beginning of this video, before I got this device I was a bit skeptical, but now that I had it and I have been using it quite a lot, I have to say that my opinions changed quite a lot. It's far from perfect. I really understand why people are criticizing on it, and for good reasons actually. But what I want you to have in mind is that different needs, different use cases, and as long as there are users that see the benefit of this device, and trust me, I have seen plenty of them out there, then why complain if a device exists? If you think that this is the reason why Sony hasn't released a PS Vita 2, then I highly doubt it. If they want to, they can still release a device like that, but to be fair, I don't really see them doing this anytime soon. And that's a shame, because I'm a really big fan of these devices, and I really hope that one day we will see something like that. But for now, this is what we got. If it's not for you, then fine. But considering that this is selling out quite well at the moment, and again, it's pretty much sold out anywhere, then let those people enjoy their devices. Ever since I got my Steam Deck, I tend to play in handheld mode a lot more. And even though the PS5 is still the most powerful device that I have for gaming, I usually tend to go to the ROG Ally or the Steam Deck in the past couple of years. So with the PlayStation Portal, things started to change again, and I'm now actually playing my PS5 a lot more than before. But the sad part is that I have to return this to my friend, but mine is on the way and I can't wait to have it in my hands again. But maybe that's just me. If it's not for you, then that's fine. Just don't get too upset if people are enjoying this device, and hopefully we should see a PlayStation Vita 2 soon, and then everyone will be happy. So fingers crossed for that moment to come soon. I would love to hear your experience down in the comments. Have you tried the PlayStation Portal already? Let me know, what do you think? Is this completely useless like the general opinion out there? And the most important thing, will Sony actually keep on supporting this device? Because to be fair, that's actually my main concern for this device. But time will tell. Hopefully we'll get improvements for it. But until then, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. So if you have any other questions, please drop them in the comments. That's it for this video. This is the Tech Unravel, and I'll catch you in the next video.